Hey everybody, Andrew here. In this video, you're going to learn one of the most effective ways to share dōTERRA, both the products and the opportunity. And the whole function of sharing in dōTERRA is we want to provide people with a wow experience. This is one of the ways that we never quote-unquote sell dōTERRA. Instead, we provide experiences that leave people really wanting more. In this video, I'm going to share with you a specific sampling process that was developed by one of the most influential couples in dōTERRA. Their name is Patrick and Elise Shedevy. They're the top-ranked people in dōTERRA, and in short, over the years of their experience in dōTERRA, they've spent over $100,000 in trials to find out what is the best way to sample oils and lead people to coming to a presentation, whether it's a class or one-on-one, where they can actually enroll in dōTERRA. Anytime you give a product sample out, the function isn't to give stuff out, the function is to help them want more so that they'll come and learn more and enroll, of course, because that's how we really change their lives. So in all of their trials, Patrick and Elise did different things, like one class they gave everybody that attended a $150 starter kit just for attending, and of course 100% of the people invited to that event came to that event, and they tried all kinds of other things like oil trio kits as the giveaway for attending, or just a small bottle of wild orange oil, the $2.50 5 milliliter ones. And they've tried different things with the wording and the pacing and the reminders before the events. And what I'm going to share with you is what they came up with the company's help, actually. And this is the most effective way to sample and lead somebody to an actual event where they can learn more and enroll. So a little secret about the events that you're leading people to through the sampling method. The most effective classes and or one-on-ones aren't ones where people come to see if they like dōTERRA. If they've been sampled properly, they've already had a yes, this is awesome experience with the oils, and they're coming to the class or one-on-one not to see if they like dōTERRA, but just to see what they want, because they already know that they like it. So why this works, it's really important. There's actually 3 reasons why what I'm going to share with you is so effective. One is it sets the mindset and pattern for the future. So it's not a process of seeing if your prospect wants to try an oil and seeing if the oil worked for them and if they maybe like dōTERRA after that. We're really actually going to develop a mindset that puts them in a pattern of thinking about their health in a proactive manner, so that they're always looking forward, asking what should I do next, what should I do next, what should I do next, and we're going to teach them how to use natural things in that process. The second thing is that this process focuses on their needs, not your agenda. Really important. And the third thing is that we're going to set a pattern of continuing to try oils until we found a solution that works for them. So basically, they'll be prepared so well that by the time they're invited to a class or one-on-one, they can't wait to enroll. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen here and show you a spreadsheet that we've created for you, and it gives an outline, basically a flow chart of how this sampling method works. Welcome to the sampling flowchart. In this chart before you, you see the pathway, the way that this most effective sampling method works. Now, before you even give somebody a sample, there's a little bit of a preface that you're going to want to learn, and you want to position samples just like this every time you give them out. If you position your samples like the way I'm going to show you, your samples will be highly effective. So, of course, before you give a sample out, you always know what your prospect's health priority is, right? Let's say that I have a friend named Bob, and Bob is working on a respiratory thing going on. So I'm going to say something like, all right, so Bob, trying natural products is kind of similar to when you're trying a traditional remedy. Like if you went to the doctor for this, and your doctor gave you a medication and it didn't really work, what do? Do you go back to the doctor and say, this didn't work, I'm just going to stay stuck with it forever? No, of course not. You go back to the doctor and he keeps trying things until you find out what works for you. We're going to do the same thing. And when we found what does work for you, we'll have found a safer, natural, cost-effective way to help you with your respiratory stuff. So you see, by positioning your sample just like this, now Bob is understanding that this isn't a one-time shot. This is just like trying something with the doctor, or if you were doing traditional medicine. We're just doing it the natural way, and it's a lot safer, and we're going to still continue to try things until we find a great, cost-effective, and effective remedy for his respiratory stuff. So that's the invitation to try the sample right here. Next, we're going to deliver the sample to Bob. A few keys that you want to remember is only sample one need at a time. If you deliver 2, 3 multiple oils for multiple things someone has going on health-wise, you're diluting their focus. Remember, the one outcome that we want from giving somebody a sample is we want to help them have a yes, this is awesome experience. And so that's best achieved by only sampling one health need at a time. Next, just give a couple day supply, like 15 drops of an essential oil. You can put them in those quarter dram oil samples that you can buy, the sample bottles you can buy at oillife.com. It's best to sample their easiest health priority. So you don't want to sample something that's ongoing or something that's, that would take several months to have really big effects on, okay? For example, a respiratory need, that's a really easy oil to sample because they can use an oil like peppermint or breathe and notice an instantaneous effect. Next, you always want to show them how to use the sample. If you're sampling somebody long distance, maybe you mailed them a sample, make sure you write down instructions on how to use it or explain it over the phone, okay? And then, this is very important, when you give someone a sample, set up a time to call them in 2 days. And this is mandatory, you guys, for this process. If you're doing it your own way that might or might not work, fine, whatever. But if you're doing it this way that we know works, you have to set up a call in 2 days. So, 2 days after you give them the sample, you make a phone call. Again, it must be a call. It can't be a text or an email or a thought. It has to be a phone call. And the wording that you say is, "Hey, Bob, it's Andrew. Did you have an opportunity to try the sample yet?" This languaging is important because if you say something like, "Hey, did you try the breathe yet?" then it kind of backs them into a corner. But if you use the word opportunity, and if you say the word yet especially, it's open-ended. And so then Bob can either say, yes, he did try it, or no, he didn't try it. Let's start with the no. So if Bob says no, he didn't try it, first I'm going to redirect it. I'll say, okay, that's all right, here's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to give Bob instructions to go home and use his sample that day or that evening. And I'll let him know that I'm going to call him in the morning. So I just redirect his attention to trying the sample and making sure he remembers the instructions. So what do I do next? In the morning, I call, just like I said I would. Again, it must be a phone call. And when I do that, I'll say, "Hey Bob, did you have a chance to try the sample yet?" And he'll either say, "Yes, he did," or "No, he didn't." Let's go with the no. So let's say he still didn't try the sample yet. Well, I'm going to say, "That's okay, here's what we're going to do." And I'm going to have him go and get the sample right then and there, and I'll have him try it. So I'll say, "Bob, here's what we're going to do. Go grab that breathe sample that I gave you right then, and I'm going to have you put a couple drops in your palm right now." Okay, you got that? All right, put your cupped hands right over your mouth, take a deep breath in, and then I might even say, it might take a few minutes for it to really sink in and for you to notice all the effects, so we might just chat for a couple minutes while his breathe is really filling his lungs up and making him feel amazing. So, once somebody has said yes, they did try the sample, either in the first phone call or the second phone call, now we'll go to the yes, because now he's tried it, right? So then I ask, all right, how was your experience? And he's going to give me one of two answers. He's either going to say, yes, it was awesome, or he'll give any other answer. Like, I hated it, or it wasn't helpful, or it made it worse, or, it was okay, or, I don't know, I didn't really notice anything. Anything but awesome is, the only thing we're looking for is, yes, it was awesome. So if Bob says, I actually don't feel that great, or it wasn't that awesome, I'm going to say this, that's okay, so tell me about it. And I'm going to listen to what happened. Next, I'm going to restate his experience. So I'll say, for example, okay, so what you're saying is you put the breathe in your hands, you cupped it over your mouth, you took some deep inhalations, and it made your respiratory stuff feel worse, or whatever his experience was, right? And then I say, here's what we're going to do. Bob, you're being patient with this process, so I'm going to be patient with you. And we're going to keep trying things until we find what works. And when we do, we'll have found a safer, natural, and more cost-effective way to help you with this respiratory stuff, all right? And then I'll give Bob a new sample and start the process over at the beginning, okay? Right here where I give him a new sample. I want you to understand the power of what we just did here. So I made sure that Bob feels understood. I also made sure that I'm following through with all my interactions, all my promises, and by wording the not awesome experience, my response to his not awesome experience like this, there's nothing discouraging, it's just totally hopeful. This is okay, and there's a value exchange. You're being patient, so I'm going to be patient with you, and we'll keep trying things. And now he's not thinking, oh, oils don't work, or or maybe I don't like oils, or maybe he's just thinking, okay, well, we'll try the next thing. That makes sense to me, right? You guys, one thing that a lot of newbies do without this kind of training is if you give a sample out to someone and they have anything but a really positive experience, you might be tempted to react kind of awkwardly. Like you might say, oh shoot, that's weird that the breathe wasn't helpful, huh? Yeah, most people really like it. You see, and you're really diluting the experience. Or, or you might say, oh, I don't know what to do, because you're not sure. This is what you do, and this is very effective. So if Bob had said yes, he used the sample the first time we called him, it would have been the exact same thing. Was it awesome? And he says not awesome or awesome. When somebody says yes, it's awesome. I love the way that breathe makes me feel. Now that they've had a yes, this is awesome, now we can invite them to a class or a one-on-one. Okay? Because at this point, he already knows that he likes doTERRA. And that way, when he comes to meet me for a one-on-one or comes to one of my classes or events, he's not there to see if he wants oils. He already knows he wants doTERRA. He already knows it's awesome. So here's the way the invitation goes. I just say, okay, Bob, if you think breathe is awesome, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I can't even tell you how many amazing things there are to help you with any health priority. So Bob, I have a class on Thursday or one on Saturday, and I really want you to come. Which one works best for you? Or if you only have one option, I always give two options. So I might say, I have a class on Thursday, or we could just meet for coffee during the week, and I really would like to meet with you about this. What works best for you? And that way, it's not a yes or no question. And this is actually really safe to do, because if you say, yeah, I have a class on Thursday, can you come? It's yes, I can, or no, I can't come. And if they say no, then you start to feel weird. Okay, now what do I do? But if you give them options, the options actually make sense to your prospect because they already had a yes, this is awesome experience. So now it only makes sense to move on to the next step, right? So this is very important. You guys see these little bullets beneath the class invitation? This is another part of what Patrick and Elise Shedevy found to be the most effective way to have great attendance of well-qualified attendees at your classes and one-on-ones. 2 days before the class or one-on-one, you call them. You don't text, you don't email, you don't Facebook message, you call them, because the voice-to-voice interaction builds a lot of trust. And you say, hey, Bob, I'm excited to see you. And that's it. I might say, there's plenty of parking on the street, and I'll see you Thursday. Okay, next, 2 hours before the event, you text them. And it's gotta be 2 to 4 hours, all right? And this is important what you say. You never say, hey, can you still make it? Or I hope you can still make it, okay? Because that's providing an out. And we already know that he wants it because he had a yes, this is awesome experience. So you text and just say, hey, Bob, I'm excited to see you. I've got a surprise for you. And Patrick and Elise Shedevy, they found that that wording generates more curiosity in a healthy way that gets more people to your events. So you actually have to have a surprise, okay? But the surprise can be something simple. It can be Slim and Sassy in water, or it can be On Guard sliced apple soaked in On Guard water, or it can be lemon oil in water. Something really easy, and nobody ever says, what? That's the only surprise? They're just curious, and it's always a pleasant little surprise, okay? When they text back and say, what's the surprise? You say, you'll see when I see you in a couple hours, okay? That's the point. That's what helps draw them to your event. So that's basically, you guys, how the sampling flow works. It's really, really simple. And if you just pay attention to this process and you do it the same way every time, it's going to be really effective. So I remember a story that Elise told me. She actually had a guy that she was mentoring, a brand new builder, and she taught her new builder this process. And she was going to go help him teach his very first dōTERRA class. Well, her instructions were, do this exactly with every person you share with in preparation for bringing people to your class. And the day before the class, she called him up and said, hey, tell me about your sampling. Did you do the process that I shared with you? And the guy said, no, he didn't. He did it his own way. And Elise said, okay, well, here's the deal. I'm not going to come and help you with your event. The reason why is because of the 15 people you invited, there's only going to be a few that show up, and they'll probably be the people that just really like you and they're supportive of you. That's why they come. And it's not worth it for me to take my time off away from my family and get a babysitter for the kids just to come and meet with a couple people. You can handle that yourself. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Only a couple or a few people showed up to this guy's event. Well, so now he realizes, oh, she's serious. She really thinks this works, right? So the next week he had his next class for dōTERRA, and he invited 18 people using this exact method. Well, Elise heard about this and she's like, crap, because she knows that when you do this, it actually works. And sure enough, 16 out of 18 invitees came to the class and they were all well prepared. Now, this can sometimes create a problem because if you have too many attendees to too few wellness advocates, there's not enough support to help everybody pick their enrollment kit and get set up at the end of the class. And if people aren't well attended to at the end of the class, they'll leave. Well, luckily, Elise was able to have 4 wellness advocates come, so there's 1 wellness advocate per 4 attendees, and it turned out to be a great class with well-prepared attendees and a great enrollment rate. I hope you're feeling really excited about this process. Sharing dōTERRA is just an opportunity to bring value to people's lives. So the question you might be wondering is, how do I transition somebody into this sampling flow? Really simple. Remember this magical question. Are you open to trying something natural for that? Basically, as you're looking at your prioritized names list, as you're looking at all those people that you marked as a potential customer, a potential product user, as you're just talking to people that weren't on your names list, strangers in line and new people that you meet, it's not uncommon for somebody to mention that they have something they're working on with their health, emotionally, physically, all of it. And that's when you say, hey, I have a question for you. Are you open to trying something natural for that? And when they say yes, that's when you start this little process. You can share 20 seconds of why you like dōTERRA. It might sound something like, we've been using essential oils in our home for a little while now, and we're really liking them because they're safe and they're natural and they're really effective. And basically, we found that we have a natural solution for everything. And that's when you offer to give them a sample. If I gave you a sample of something that helps with what you just mentioned, would you give it a try and let me know your experience in a few days? And the sampling flow that we just went over begins. So remember that magical question. Are you open to trying something natural for that? A little thought, you guys, about when somebody says no, they didn't try the sample when you give them that phone call. It's good. It's all good. The reason why people come to a class or one-on-one with you and are ready to enroll, they already know they want dōTERRA, is one, because they've had that, yes, this is awesome experience with the sample. The other reason is because they have a high level of trust with you. And so even if you gave someone a sample, you called them in 2 days and they said, no, I haven't used it yet, that's a good thing, because every time you have an interaction that sets up the next interaction and you follow through with the next step, and every interaction leads to the next one, and you're following through the whole time, every interaction builds trust. It builds your credibility, and it helps them realize, oh, they're really here to help me out. They really want to see this through so that I can feel success with my whatever health thing I'm working through. So it's all good. All right, you guys, that's the entire sampling process. Really, really simple. And for the first couple weeks of your launch experience, all you're doing is sharing the product with people and bringing them to your upline. And your upline will help with the first few classes and the first few one-on-ones. If you have someone that wants oils and they're ready to go right then and there, they're like, how do I buy this? I need this now. Get on a 3-way phone call with your mentor, because your mentor has a script that they can use that will help your prospect in a really natural way figure out what they want to do with their health and how dōTERRA can help them. Now, with the business, it's a very simple process. You remember in your launch strategy, you learned those magical questions to invite people to the business, right? It's just, are you open to different ways to create income? And then you share 20 seconds of why you're excited about dōTERRA, and you ask, would you be open to learning more, how this might be able to help you with what you want? And just set up a 3-way call with your upline. This is very important to remember, you guys. One of the biggest mistakes that newbies make in dōTERRA is they try to sell the products or the opportunity prematurely. They try to sell before a lot of trust has been generated. The reason why we like to recruit builder prospects, but with the help of an upline on a 3-way call, is because it's all about nurturing and building trust. And by the time we've done all that prep work, there's so much trust built that by the time we say, it looks like dōTERRA might be a great fit for what you're wanting to accomplish here, there's so much trust that they just say, that makes sense. So remember, don't waste your time selling the details about the products or selling the details about the business. Just find out who's open. If you're giving them a sample, use that sampling flow chart. And if they're interested in the business, get them on a 3-way call. That's how the sampling works. Remember, every sample is just to help them have a, yes, this is awesome experience, and lead them to the next step, which is a class or one-on-one. And every moment sharing the business is just to get them in front of your upline on a 3-way call so that your upline can help you build that trust and then enroll your prospects in the business. And as you do this for the first few weeks, you guys, you're gonna have a lot of fun because it's just authentically sharing and meeting people's needs. The last thing I'll share with you is, you remember in your launch strategy, we talked about, or your mentor and you talked about how to tailor your passions and strengths as you share. Leverage all of that. Communicate in a style that works for you, that's natural to you, and you'll have a great experience. All right, you guys, that's it for now. Have fun sharing, sampling, and inviting people to the next step. Bye.